Hi, and welcome back to AppSecCon 2022. In this session, we're going to talk about building your personal brand in AppSec. Gary Hayslip is the Global CISO for SoftBank Investment Advisors and SoftBank Group International. He's got some great advice whether or not you're trying to break into the industry or if you're trying to expand your presence in your own career path. So let's go ahead and check it out.
Good morning. My name is Gary Hayslip. I've been asked by AppSecCon to go ahead and come in and talk to you about basically how to build your brand and on thought leadership. And so my discussion on building thought leadership is going to be around what I've learned over the last 20 years in the cybersecurity industry. Basically the definition of thought leadership, when you look at it, the basic definition is supposed to be somebody who's a trusted source of information. They're supposed to move and inspire people. My definition is I look at thought leaders are people that we aspire to be. They demonstrate knowledge and expertise that we would like to have, in our career field ourselves. And so they're people that we hope to someday be able to go ahead and be, is the way I kind of look at thought leaders. So with that, over the last, I'd say 10, 15 years of doing keynotes and writing books and working in the cybersecurity industry, I've had people go ahead and ask me specific questions about how to become a thought leader, how to build a brand, how to be active in the community. And what I found is that, there's about 7 questions that I look at, thought leaders, people that, who want to go ahead and actually do this, for real. And what I found is that, there are specific qualities that thought leaders tend to have. There's specific ways in which you can get started. There's ways to go ahead and specialize in certain areas. There's venues in which you can go ahead and publish content. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over these 7 questions that, I've been asked by people who were, growing, their brand or, wanting to become thought leaders and getting involved in their specific, areas of expertise. The first one is going to be what are some essential qualities? One of the first ones I've always found is that you should be passionate about your area of expertise. You should be endless curiosity. For myself, I love cybersecurity. I love technology. I'm constantly reading and educating myself and learning about new things. And you should be willing to share it. Willing to go ahead and bring it to the community and help other people also learn and excel. I also look at the fact that you should be humble because you're never really going to know everything. There's so many different things that you can learn, especially in the cybersecurity industry. It changes so fast that those things that you do know about, that you do have a passion for, be willing to share, but also at the same time, be willing to learn, be willing to collaborate, be willing to be comfortable that sometimes you're probably going to be wrong, but that's it. We're all human. We all make mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes. You get better educated. You learn through experience, and then you turn that into something to go ahead and teach others. So that's one of the first things I look at, about being a thought leader is that there are essential qualities that you should bring to the table. The next thing I look at is how to get started. Typically the way to go ahead and get started is I look at it as, you do a personal inventory. And what I mean by that is think about the jobs that you've done, technologies that you've worked on, and services and tools that you've used. Think about projects you may have supported. All of these will kind of give you ideas and experiences that you have. You may start making a list of technologies and might start taking a list of different experiences and different things that you've done. And once you've put together this whole list, the beginning of this, this thought leader roadmap is what I like to call it. Then you take a look at the various, subjects and stuff that you've written down, and you kind of rank them. You rank them as which ones you'd be ready to go ahead and talk about and you'd be comfortable talking about, and which ones you probably need to do some research on and dig a little bit more on. And when you kind of rank this list, what you'll find is, you've got things that right away you can go ahead and start speaking about. and you can start working with and start bringing to your community and start writing and on, and then other things that you need to work on, and the nice thing about this roadmap is now that you've got this list is that I look at it and I kind of warn about it as well, is once you start this, it's going to be continuous. You're going to find that you're going to be adding things to the list or taking things away from the list. You're going to find that there's going to be a whole continuous education piece to it once you've gone ahead and you've built this, this thought leader roadmap for yourself, and you're going to find that you want to add things to it or take things away and be okay with that, and it's good to go ahead and have this because it kind of keeps you focused, on specific areas that you're doing really well at. And it also helps you see which areas you need to continue doing research on. So then the next question I go ahead and I've been asked a lot about is, as a thought leader, how do you choose an area, of specialization? In cybersecurity, there's tons of different domains, within this field. And to develop to be a thought leader, I've always found that start with one area that you're working in now. Just like you've got that thought leader, list of areas that you want to go ahead and talk about, those that you probably know very well are those, areas, those specialties, those tools, those technologies that you're doing right now. That you're comfortable with it, you've got a lot of knowledge on it, you can speak intelligently about it, you have a passion for it. That's why I always say is, if you're going to go ahead and start, stick with that right now. You'll be very effective with it. You can communicate with it, and then go ahead and look at, as you start speaking and as you start writing, look at where you can add, later to it. And again, as I mentioned here on the slide, you don't have to be an encyclopedia and just have a ton of information about it. You just have to be able to communicate with some knowledge, be intelligent about it, and you have that passion, as I mentioned down at the bottom, having that passion that you love this field, you're interested in these topics, is really important, because if you lack it, you're really going to be a boring thought leader. You really want to go ahead and enjoy what you're talking about, and you want to go ahead and be able to share that knowledge to help other people. So the next one I look at is, what are some venues, some areas that you can be able to publish, or be able to speak about your information. I look at, start small. There's a bunch of areas where you can go ahead and, you can take that info and start small, like up on LinkedIn or Forbes or WordPress or Medium. If you want to speak, maybe you don't like to write, but you like to talk about certain subjects. Look at some of the professional groups. There's a lot of people that look at ISSA or ISACA or InfraGard or OWASP. There's tons of different professional groups. And one key thing about these professional groups is they tend to have monthly meetings, and they're always looking for speakers. So start small with some of these professional groups. Start small with writing with some of these, smaller, sites. And also don't forget about podcasts, that are always also, looking forward, guests, looking for people to come speak. What this does is this allows you to kind of fine tune, what areas that you want to talk about, what areas that you want to share data from. This allows you to fine tune your message, and it also allows you to find, areas that you might want to add, to your thought leader list. Some areas that you might want to do more research on. So it's okay to start small and then just go ahead and get better at it, fine tune, get your message, whether you're going to be talking or whether you're going to be writing. And then, from there, you can then go ahead and continue to share with the community. And as you continue to grow, just add more to your list. My next question is, how do thought leaders develop relevant content? Well, as I mentioned here, it is a constant battle. You're going to go ahead and find, you've got your thought leader roadmap, you got your list of ideas, but you've got to be constantly adding to it. I mean, myself, I carry an app on my phone where I'm constantly jotting down ideas. Sometimes I'll come up with subjects or rants about issues, or friends will come up with ideas. I think right now I've got about a 16-page list of ideas, and I'm always going through it and moving things around. I want to talk about this time around, or I'm going to move these things down at the bottom of the list and I'll talk about it later. The critical point as a thought leader, you want to develop content that's relevant to your audience. People want to read it. They want to be able to use it in their daily lives. They want to be able to use it at work or at home, and to do that, it takes effort. It definitely takes time to go ahead and not only develop your list, but also to educate yourself, to talk with peers, to read, what other people are listen to, what other people are saying, and then kind of come up with your message, come up with your take on what you think, be able to relate it to your experiences, and then put it into a format that your audience gets. That your audience, whether they're listening or whether they're reading, they're able to go ahead and take what you're talking about and say, okay, hey, this is what I'm going to do with it. It has to be, have some kind of value. It has to have some kind of context that's going to help them. And so, like I had mentioned, you start small, you work, where you're going to read and where you're going to go ahead and, where you're going to write or where you're going to speak at. And then, obviously, the content that you're going to be developing, you need to continually be adding to the list, continually be educating yourself, jotting notes down, and make sure that what you develop is stuff that people are going to be able to use, that it's going to be relevant to them. So, the next piece that, I want to go ahead and talk about is, how do thought leaders build, a following? This is one that I've had people go ahead and ask me about. And what they're looking at here is, okay, I've made my list. I've been doing my research. I've started writing some articles. I've gone ahead and maybe I've done a talk or two, on a podcast. But, I really want people to go ahead and follow me. I really want to go ahead and, and build a group. Maybe it's going to be a side hustle that you want to get and put together. And maybe it's going to be a new job or something that you want to get into. Well, the biggest things for actually building a following, just like I had mentioned, is the stuff that you're creating, the content that you're putting together, it has to be relevant. It has to be up to date. The audience, the people that you're speaking to, have to want the information. They need to be able to do something with it. Maybe you're helping them see how to do security for a new cloud application, or maybe you're giving them a take on zero trust for small businesses, and you're showing them, if you're a small business, these are core things that you need to know about. It needs to be relevant to the people that you're talking to, and it needs to be current. You don't need to be talking about something that was 5 years ago. It needs to be something that's happening now. Another big thing is you need to be able to freely share your information, because honestly, it is the right thing to do. You want to go ahead and help your community, and they're going to know when they're listening to you and they listen to that passion that I was talking about, that, you know your subject and that you care about being able to get that information to them. And it's important for them to be able to go ahead and use it and, and do well with it. And then the last thing I talk about is getting there to be able to grow that following, to be able to deliver that type of content. It's going to take time. Again, you're not, when you put together your roadmap and you got your list of things that you want to talk about, you're still going to have to educate yourself and do some research and be adding, to that list. It's not something that you're just going to, just boop, I got this list and I'm ready to go. No, you're going to go ahead and you're going to need to add to it and educate yourself and get more, information, because you want to make sure it's up to date. You want to make sure it's relevant, and then the time piece comes into, it's going to take you time to get known. It's going to take you time for people to hear what you're talking about and understand what you're talking about and realize, hey, this is good information. Hey, I really like what this person is saying. And there's a couple of ideas. I talk about, don't limit yourself to one venue. Hey, I'm just going to write. There's blogs, there's articles, there's videos, there's podcasts, there's speeches. There's so many different ways in which you can get your information out. I look at that you should have multiple sites or portals. You should have multiple different ways in which you're going to go ahead and get your information out. And maybe you have a central website that's yours where you collect links to all of the different things that you're doing. But, you want to go ahead and leverage the various technologies, the various, social media outlets and venues that are out there. Once you start, getting that following, once you start putting content together, once you start getting a message that makes sense and you like what you're talking about, and you feel like you're really knowledgeable to talk about specific subjects, you want to go ahead and kind of spread it out to where you start getting that following. People, you put it out there so people can go ahead and read and hear you, and you start growing your audience. So what's the benefit of becoming a thought leader? That's one of the questions, I get sometimes is, hey, it sounds like it's a lot of work. It sounds like you got to do all of this stuff. It just isn't, you just talk about things. You actually got to educate yourself. You've got to, pick things that people want to listen to. Why do I really want to do this? I look at it, is that, you are, the biggest benefit to me is that you get a chance to share and, with people and to help people. I mean, I've been writing books and writing articles and keynoting and speaking probably for about 10 years now. And I have people at conferences that'll come up from all over the world, who've used, my content to get hired for a job, or they've used my content to help for a project or a problem that they were working. And that really means a lot to me. It helps me just feel great knowing that I was able to help a peer, that I was able to help somebody in our community, So, I mean, again, I think, the most significant thing is that from a servant leader perspective, that you are sharing and helping people. And, that is a core thing that I think that you get from being a thought leader. And then another thing too, that, hey, you got to put it out there. Some people are looking at it as a second career. Some people are looking at it as something that they want to be able to go ahead and do. They want to be able to go into consulting, or they want to go into some other type of domain within the security industry where they share information and they help people. And again, this is where thought leadership can come in if that's, an avenue that you want to follow. So in closing, I look at it as, being a thought leader is a privilege. You get a chance to go ahead and not just be in front of people, whether you're speaking to them or whether, they're reading your content, but you get a chance to have a discussion, to have a dialogue, and to talk with them and freely share information. Being a thought leader is a lot of hard work. It's a continuous process. You've got to go ahead and keep up with, topics. You got to educate yourself on new issues. Being a thought leader takes time. It's something that I remind people about. If you're going to do it, it isn't like you're all of a sudden, boom, you're going to have an audience. It's going to take time to go ahead and build up that audience. And the reason is you need to build up trust. You need to build up credibility. People need to want to listen to what you have to say, or read, what you're writing about, and because without that trust, you have nothing, people aren't going to be interested. So, hopefully some of these things resonate with you, and, good luck. And I hope to see you, in the community, bringing out some new content. Thank you very much.